Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the February 10th, 2025 council meeting. I'm sorry, give us a second to work on the audio. Is there a computer unmuted? Chief, it looks like it's coming from your laptop, maybe? Okay. All right, we'll try that again. All good. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, February 10th, Town of Bladensburg Council Work Session. We're now called to order. At this time, we will proceed with the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Moved by Councilmember Dixon. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any corrections or additions to the agenda before we take a vote? Want to make sure, because I know we have a couple of council members online. Okay, seeing no hands, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The agenda is approved for tonight's work session. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the work session minutes for Monday, January 13th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Moved by Councilmember Dixon. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any corrections or amendments to the minutes for the last meeting? I did just notice two small typos, so Madam Clerk, I can give those over to you at the end of this meeting, but it was just two small things. But other than that, I think we're okay. I'm looking for the council members online. Councilmember Blunt, any corrections to the minutes? Okay. All right. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. The meeting minutes are approved. We now will proceed into financial business on tonight's agenda, beginning with item A, which is the approval and adoption of FY 2024 audit. At this time, we'll turn it over to Treasurer Tonelli to kick this off.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have online Miss Eva Webb, who is with our auditing firm, and I asked her to go ahead and present the audit. Spend a few minutes walking through the highlights and answering any questions the Mayor and Council might have. So Eva, I'm going to turn this over to you and go and share. The screen's already shared.
Yep, perfect. So as Vito mentioned, we did the audit for the town for the year ended June 30, 2024. So I'm going to walk you through at a very high level the results of the audit. So the first place I always like to stop is the independent auditor's report. Essentially, this is what the town pays us for. So as a reminder, down here, management is responsible for the financial statements. All we do as auditors is express an opinion on those financial statements. So if you go back up, the second paragraph, you'll see in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. So what that means is the town received a clean, unmodified opinion for fiscal year 24, which is the best opinion that you can get. You'll see at the very bottom of the report, it's not dated yet. So you as mayor and council, you have to review and approve audit. And then once we do that, that's when we will pay everything. So let's jump into the numbers. Exhibit A1 is the statement of net position. And so if you guys are in a for-profit, it would be your balance sheet. So essentially what it does is it lists all of the assets and all of the liabilities of the town. So you'll see about halfway down our total assets for the town at June 30, 2024, 10.3 million. And if you look up above, these first four rows are your cash and cash equivalents and your investments. And they total a little over 6.2 million. And then the other largest piece of your assets, of course, are your capital assets, which is your land and your buildings, your equipment, your vehicles. So that 3.2 million is net of depreciation. You also have some deferred outflows of resources, about almost 1.5 million. And then on the other side here are liabilities, which all towns and organizations have at any point in time about 4.4 million. The largest piece of that is your long-term liabilities, which relate to your leases and your pension liability. You also have some deferred inflows of resources. So what that means is you've received cash, but you haven't actually earned the revenue yet. So this is mostly your unearned ARPA funds at the end of fiscal year 24, a little over 1.3 million. If you take all of your assets and subtract all of your liabilities, the difference is what's known as your net position. And so some of it cannot be spent, right? Our capital assets are not in liquid form, so they're kind of segregated separately. Then you also have some restricted funds at the end of the year. That's your highway user revenues that can really only be spent for that purpose. The general reserve or unrestricted funds at the end of last year, a little under 2.3 million. The next statement is probably the most important statement for the town, Exhibit A2. What it does is it all of the expenses that the town incurred last year, and it totaled $11 million, and it breaks it down by category. So you have several different activities, right? You have your general government activities, your public safety, which includes your police force, work, and then some interest that'll then get allocated. And what it does, it shows how you funded those expenses. So it has a column here for program service charges for services. So these would be fees that are charged to the residents, and that totaled a little over almost 1.5 million. You also know as a town, you do get funding, grants and contributions, mostly grants for various projects. Was about 2.1 million last year. And so it shows you that you had a deficit of about 7.4 million. And so what local governments can do is they can assess taxes. So down here at the bottom, you have your state shared taxes that were collected last year, about 674,000, and your property taxes of a little over 5.1 million. Last year was also a really good year for investments and for money market accounts. So the town did earn about $442,000 of interest. And then just some other miscellaneous revenue of about 204. So your general revenues last year were 6.4 million. So you didn't quite cover your expenses in fiscal year 24, right? You had a change in net position of about 988,000. My knowledge, and after reviewing everything, it appears that you knew you were going to utilize your fund balance or your reserves last year. So your ending net position, that's 6,079,000. The next two pages, Exhibit A3 and A4, are your fund level financial statements. So they only include items that are currently available and they don't have anything that's a long-term asset or liability. So there's no debt on these statements and there's no capital assets. These statements are really just included so you can kind of see in the near term how much money you have to operate. And so you'll see the balances are slightly different, right? Our assets are not 10 million, they're 7 million because we don't have those capital assets included. And your liabilities are much, much less because you don't have them recorded on the fund level. So we're not going to talk too much about the statement because I want to look at it when we look at the budget in just a minute in Exhibit B1. So Exhibit A6, if you need some to help you fall asleep tonight, go ahead and read them. But essentially the notes to the financial statements only include information about some of the numbers on the financial statements. So they provide a little bit more background and a little bit more detail about those numbers. Note 1 and Note 2 really talk about the accounting policies the town uses. So really, I didn't have any to present to you this evening. If you had a question about a number on one of the statements, there would be a note in the back to kind of talk about where it came from. So let's scroll down to Exhibit B1. This is the budget versus actual, which you as the town use on a recurring basis to kind of track how you're doing. So this is also the final, there are 3 columns. We have the original budget, the final budget, and the actual amounts. So I like to start by looking at sort of totals and then looking at anything that kind of went over or under. So your total revenue budgeted last year for the final was a little over 11 million. And the town recognized a little over 10 million. So there was a difference of about $1 million. And if you look up above, it's mainly in this grant revenue category. So I think you guys were anticipating you were going to spend more of the ARPA funds than was actually spent last year. And then the other side are the expenses. So the same thing, if we look at the total budget last year in expenses, it was 12.2 million, and your actual expenditures were 11.7 million. So you overestimated your expenses by about 532,000. And a lot of that had to do, again, with ARPA funds not being expended. And then there were some other significant variances. While I'm here in the grants, I think you were expecting some projects that maybe didn't come to fruition last year. You are in the Maryland State Retirement Plan, and so as part of that, you have to include a couple additional schedules, these Exhibit B3 and B4. So essentially, it's showing whether or not you're funded or if you are not fully funded. That's kind of some of these percentages. The one on the next page is Exhibit B4. It shows that the state required for a contribution last year to the various employees' retirement plan of $425,000. The town made a contribution last year. I should say it's fully funded. And this is a 10-year schedule, so every year the town has funded its required amount. The last 2 pages are a second report. Because you are getting those ARPA funds, we had to do a yellow book audit. It's just a little bit higher level, and it talks about the results here. You got a clean, unmodified opinion for that as well. Hopefully I'm close to my 7 minutes. Sorry about that. Are there any questions?
Ms. Webb, thank you for that overview. I'll turn it over to the council to start with any questions. Councilmember Blunt and McBride, I'll come to you both since you're online first to see if you have any questions. Okay.
I don't have any.
Okay. Councilmember McBride?
I don't have any either at this point.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Brown, any questions or comments about the audit?
Thanks, Mayor. No, I don't really have any questions. I just want to, continue to look at it a little bit more, digest it. But it looks to be pretty good. But no, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dixon, any comments or questions regarding the audit?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am just curious about why was the proposed, the personal property tax was lower than the budget amount? Was this because of, was it that businesses were closing or anything to do with the economy activity?
So Vito, I think that's probably a question for you because it goes towards how the budget was prepared.
Yeah, the previous years it was over. And then sometimes there's a timing difference because the businesses don't always follow the tax returns. They file for extensions. And like this year, we're getting revenues from like FY23 and FY24. So it's a timing issue a lot of times, how many businesses actually file by the April 15th and June 15th deadlines versus extending out into September. So it's been going like this, but the last 2 years, it's been higher than budget. And the one time we kept the budget at the usual amount, it came in lower than budget. So we're going to budget a little bit more conservatively again this year on it.
Okay, and that included the bond bill revenue as well?
No.
Because it's, no?
No, we didn't have any bond bill revenue in FY '24 for this budget. Is that
Okay.
right?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
We'll do it all this year.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for the questions, Councilmember Dixon. And I think the real takeaway here is just looking at pages 47 and 48 in particular and noting that there were no deficiencies in our internal controls and that we had a clean audit once again, which is definitely something that the town should be proud of. That's not the case for every single municipality, and I think we owe a huge debt of gratitude to our staff for keeping meticulous financial records and also just making sure that you're following our internal processes. And Vito, I know it takes a lot to go through the auditing process, pulling the documents between you and Tina and others supporting you, so appreciate your efforts working with Ms. Webb and her firm to ensure all the necessary documentation was there for her benefit so that they could do their job, which was to really examine our financial records.
And all that time's worth it for a clean opinion, so don't mind doing it.
Appreciate that. Ms. Webb, thank you for joining us tonight and for taking the time to walk through the report. And this is on the agenda for the council meeting at 7 p.m. so that we can formally adopt the FY 2024. We don't have to formally, okay. So
No, you do have to formally present, but do you need her to present it?
I don't believe so. I mean, Vito, if you want to talk us through it at a high level, and then we can go ahead and vote. I understand we need to do that so that the final letter, the report can be completed with today's date on it to formally close everything out. But Ms. Webb, I don't want to steal your thunder. You are more than welcome to join and do an overview at the 7 o'clock meeting.
Oh, at the next one? Oh, sure.
Yes.
It's whatever you guys want.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, then that would be lovely. If you're willing to do it, then we'll just turn the agenda back over to you for the recap at the 7 o'clock meeting.
Tonight, or, I'm sorry, I missed
Yes,
part of it.
it's tonight, yes, yeah.
Okay, I actually do have a 6 o'clock meeting, a double booked. So I wouldn't be able to do it tonight.
I can do it.
Is there another
I can do it.
motion?
No, it's fine. I can do the overview for the main meeting, if that's okay.
That works. It'll probably be around 7:30 by the time we get to it, if you are able to jump back on. But if
Okay.
not, we'll just turn the meeting over to Mr. Tonelli at that point to walk us through it.
Okay, sounds
All
great.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Eva.
Bye.
All right, thank you everyone for your input regarding the audit. We'll continue through financial business, moving on to an emergency ordinance to amend FY 2025 to close out the ARPA funds, and that's emergency ordinance 10-2025. So Town Administrator, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is an item that will move some funds to the ARPA so that we can close out the ARPA funds for the end of the year. What the first one is in regards to the business nonprofit section, that we're decreasing those weren't spent, increasing our food assistance, increasing the monitoring line item, decreasing the community initiatives line item for unfunded projects, moving $5,600 to Boswick Consulting, because we did do that helps us to close out the end of the year. $11,000 to low impact design for planning and engineering. $10,456 for some police radios that were previously purchased with speed camera funds. We're moving those into this because it helps us to spend it out now, because the other funds can be taken out later. $138,947 for the police vehicle replacements, previously in speed camera, that we're moving into ARPA. And then $500,000 for the capital project for the flood funding, which has not been billed to us by the county. So we may suggest that we might do another amendment regarding that, because we've been waiting on that so that we can close it out. And there's 149 also for some other capital outlays for police radios that would be used from, we're suggesting to be used from ARPA. Once again, the issue is that we want to make sure that we spend out funds for items that were purchased in the fiscal year before December 31st, 2024. And Mr. Tonelli, you can add on.
I mean, we had budget uses of funds, but it didn't materialize by December. But we have other areas where we could use this for that are underperforming right now. I mean, the main one is the capital outlay for the vehicles and for the police radios, because the speed camera revenues are falling behind budget right now, so it takes the pressure off of that. And all this leaves $500,000 as of December 31st, 2024 spent. So we can report that money has been spent by the deadline of December 31st, and the final $500,000 that we obligate out to the flood project.
Which has to be spent by 26.
Yeah, by 2026.
And with the flood amount of $500,000, it just needed to be obligated before December 31st, 2024. So we really don't need to touch that, correct? As long as it's spent by the end of this year,
Yes.
December?
The 2026, you get 2 years.
Okay.
You get another
So
year.
from that standpoint, I'm a little bit confused because I thought by obligating it, it was already covered, but it's also listed in here.
I just wanted to.
He listed it again.
Formalize that.
Formalize it in this. We may ask you to change that in looking at the budget in another future meeting. But right now, we're formalizing it to say that this has been obligated for this expense. But we may do another budget. I'm just trying to let you know that there may be another budget update that we may change. We may ask for a transfer from that.
Okay.
But it has been formally obligated, which is what's required by the state and the DBM people. for
Even though it
this.
was already on the budget and we talked about it, I just like to have it
Yeah.
again, you
Yeah.
know, that's out there, that is obligated as of December 31st.
And then with respect to the speed camera funds, so are we thinking that we're going to end the year down, or is it just down right now, given the transition with the vendor and some time that it took to involve the new owner who bought out? Was it Conduit and?
Medexa.
Medexa.
Yeah.
I would
Or
say
is
that-
it, or Chief, are you thinking that we're going to end June 30th, 2025?
Let Chief answer that.
Lower than where we anticipated. And the only reason I'm asking is because if you guys feel confident that we'll recover the revenue, then I'd rather not obligate this. So that's where I'm going. I want to be transparent.
So, good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. So unfortunately, yeah, it looks like this year we will be under this year. So we're not looking to recover that as much as we would like to. So there was some hiccups with about 2,000 citations that was resolved, but that wouldn't bring us still back up to the level that we were anticipating this year.
That is helpful. And let me just apologize to the council members online. Did you have any questions regarding the proposed budget amendments, Councilmember Blunt?
Yeah, you can hear me good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of was going to ask that same question. Was it because the cameras were down? That's why that's there?
So we did, as I stated earlier, we did have a hiccup with some cameras. So we lost about, we didn't lose, they just weren't processed, approximately 2,000 citations. That problem has been resolved, and we are expecting those revenues to come in once those citations are paid. But still, this year, we will be slightly under what we budgeted for.
I would say that the speed camera program's working to reduce speed, And I think that that's probably, you know, there's not as many people speeding on those streets. I mean, that would be, that's one of those good things, right, Chief?
Right, and it also, weather plays a factor into it as well. So it ebbs and flows around this time of the year with the weather conditions.
Understanding that, but if, will we be able to recoup the money if for some foreseen reason they start speeding again?
Yes, ma'am. Once they fail to obey the posted speed limit, they will be held accountable.
Okay. Oh,
Did that, Councilmember
yeah.
Blunt, did that help?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm sorry, Councilmember, your audio went out. Could you please repeat that?
just in case someone else have a question pertaining to the speed cameras, I have two other questions that's on here. I can move
Okay.
on, or I can wait to see what anyone else have to say about the speed cameras.
Sure. Councilmember McBride, I want to give you a chance to. Did you have any questions on this portion?
Not really. I mean, if we're gonna be able to recoup some of that money, I mean, it's fine, but if not, we gotta find another way.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember, or in the room, any other questions before we move on? Councilmember Dixon or Brown? Okay,
Yeah, because mine was around the $500,000 when it had to be spent, so
Okay.
that was already answered.
okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Blunt, back to you.
Okay, on the additional 20,000 for food, are we anticipating more people to, or planning something else different for an additional 20,000? And for the other unfunded projects, those community initiative, do we already have those community initiatives lined up, or because the 84,000 had to come from somewhere? And the additional 20,000, that's the only thing.
So, Councilmember, that 20,000 was already spent in regards to the holiday food distributions and some of the gift cards for seniors. We use those funds, and we use ARPA funds to cover those additional for this year. So that's what because they were expended before December 31st, 2024, we were able to put those funds in there. And then the decrease to community initiatives, that's sort of the same. That's we did not spend $84,000 for community initiatives, but we did spend more on food assistance. And then we spent some more in those other line items because they all fell in that December 31 timeframe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the questions, Councilmember Blunt. So if there are no other questions, just looking online and in the room, okay. So I think we've satisfied all the questions and have a good plan for moving forward. And this is also on the 7 p.m. Meeting so that we can take a formal vote since it is a financial matter. The next item under financial business is the FY 2026 budget overview. Yay, we're starting earlier. Mr. Tonelli. It's a budget party. Party pooper.
Sorry, sorry for using the Lord's name in vain today. Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about some of the budget assumptions, the fund balance trends, and the revenue options that we've got that we may ask you to look at, and then some of the other needs as we move forward. The budget assumptions this year is that we're going to try to look at COLA and merit. Oh, thank you. COLA and merit. And we're going to determine what those numbers are going to be. because we're still working through, the budget. The first round that we've kind of come up with, there's about $1 million of needs that we've identified that would be over budget, 1.2-ish. But, so we're going to, Vito, myself, Chief met today to look at some of those options, and we're going to continue to meet with the leadership team to kind of go through that, so that by the time we see you on the 18th, we'll have a little bit clearer, especially when we're talking to council about your budget this year. So one of those is COLA and merit, and that in some of the ways that if we look at our current number of employees, it would be about $200,000 for about for COLA, and then we're also experiencing some higher than anticipated costs with health insurance. Like everyone knows, the last few years we've gone up between 5 and 6% each year, and we're budgeting this year for about 5%. So those are some things that are the compensation, because people don't really think of health insurance as part of compensation, but one of the things that we're working with our HR partner, once that's on tonight, is to kind of show people what a benefits letter looks like and how much your health insurance is part of your compensation. And so we have never really added that, but that is a huge compensation portion. Okay, next, capital projects. The town is looking at spending towards the earmark for the trade school, utilizing some of the bond bill funding for the construction of town hall. More of that will be spent in FY26 than it will be spent in FY25. We are probably only going to spend about $75,000 in 25, and if we do, it would be at the very end of the fiscal year. So I'm pretty much anticipating that most of the capital money will be spent in 26, because the actual study itself will not be done until June, July. So that's the issue there. CDBG funding for streets and sidewalks, we're doing the bid now, but that will probably actually might show up in your budget in 26 because it'll be in June. Last time we had a transfer from fund balance of about 708, but that's an old number. What we might need is that kind of money this year, if we decide to do everything, but we're gonna look really hard. We're gonna scrub the budget, we're gonna turn over cushions, and we're gonna do anything we can to use coupons, whatever it takes, to try to make that work. So fund balance transfers, just to kind of let you know where we were in the past. We've moved up rapidly, and this is this shows that we've gone up from being a little bit at $6.5 million budget on FY18 to doubling that to about 12 million. It's almost $13 million, and that's what we're estimating this year. You're going to be at a $13 million budget, which is a big change for the town in a very short amount of time, especially with the initiation of ARPA. Well, as Vito likes to say, same admin, same everything. But what I also say is that we're doing a lot more than we did in the past, and so that actually has scale costs. Some of the revenue items that we're asking to look at is that we're going to look at the assessed valuations and previous income tax estimates, so that we can give you the best analysis of where we are with assessed valuations for home and that for houses and real estate, and then we can also let you know where we think we're going to be with the we'll know income tax by late February, correct, or early March?
Early March, and we'll know the assessment, the real estate assessments by.
Yeah, see, it's your turn.
We'll know more about the income tax projections in March, and the real estate assessments for the main part of our revenues. We will know by this Friday.
It's a Valentine's Day surprise.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then. The other needs, which are the public safety and vehicle and recurring leases. We have put that in there, and scroll down, is about $200,000. LEOPS funding for 27, which would be just as far as in 26, we would need to fund a study, which is about $25,000 to $30,000. That was what they told us last time. Public rental, rental space, if we wanted to we're strapped in space right now. We had that as a last year need as a recurring cost. town hall construction, I always have TPD because that is a bonding issue that we need to start to figure out. And then expansion of community programming. I know that last year, council really wanted to do youth sports, and I know it's something, this is not an order of any order, it's just these are all the needs that were out there from last year that we just wanted to re-put together. The last slide is the next steps, which I think you're all familiar with. We're gonna have budget sessions throughout March and to May. Our next session is actually February 18th, which is the council, which will kind of go through your budget, and then we'll also go through those initial revenues. The budget ordinance will first be read in April. We'll start to look at if there's any changes to real estate taxes in April and May, so that those would have to be noticed. The tax rate hearing would be the April 14th or May 12th. And then a final budget session has been scheduled for April 29th with an adoption on May 12th or a final adoption on May 9th if we have to perseverate. June 9th, excuse me, May 12th and June 9th. Thank you for that correction, Councilwoman. And that's what we've got.
Great, thank you for that overview, and it's really helpful to understand where things are lining up in terms of potential deficits. I think that we have to really have those tough conversations when we talk about the budget and really prioritize, because we're not in a position to say yes to everything. And knowing that we're already looking at $1 million, but there's all these asks that will pile on. We just have to have those tough conversations and be flexible. Some things are going to have to be given up if other things are expected or anticipated. So I think that's going to be a huge conversation as we start getting into our budget work sessions in the next couple of weeks and months. So I'll just leave that there. But council, any questions or comments regarding the overview? Councilmember Brown.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a quick question. With this, it says this year we may require a larger transfer from the fund balance due to a downfall in public safety, but is that also because of opera as well?
Yes, that's a very. I had actually had it open. I can't believe it. Yes, that is you kind of hit the right on the nose, because ARPA in some ways helped us to fund a lot of our public safety and a lot of our COLAs and everything like that. So we've built a base that had ARPA built into it. Now this year, the general fund is going to have to assume all of the things that we've used ARPA for. So we've been able to, we didn't write off as much in 25 to ARPA for salaries, but in 24 we did. So that's that transition issue, is that we're transitioning off of ARPA.
So Councilmember Brown, to that point, when I think it was FY24, we decided to give increases to public safety salaries, and ARPA covered it that year, but that's not there. So now that has to come from the operating fund just to sustain those salaries and also look at merit and COLA increases. So that definitely is going to have a direct budget impact on top of the request for the items listed here. I think that was in the other page of the, under the vehicles, the recurring leases, rental space, LEOPS, town hall, bonding, and construction. So we really have to have some serious conversations. And then also knowing it's not just at the municipal level, but the state is also having to have some tough conversations, and they're facing a $2 billion deficit. So we just have to be transparent and honest about this being a tough situation to navigate. And then the other piece of it is there were federal grants and funds available previously that we may not be able to be relying upon to help us out. And so that's where we need the directors to really come to the table, trying to help us solve this and get the best scenario that we can for our residents. So again, thank you for starting the conversations early. I think the finance party has just gone south on that note, but we have to talk about it. We have to work through it. So appreciate you as the leadership team already starting to have these conversations and help us come up with some solutions. Councilmember Blunt.
Okay, I'm looking at where it says other needs. On here, I see LEOPS, the study fee. So you have to pay a study fee for LEOPS?
Yes, Councilwoman, we have to, if we do want to look at LEOPS, you're gonna have to re-study our, wow, I feel like I'm talking. I don't know why, okay, because I'm like, if I don't press it. Okay, can you hear me now? So, Councilwoman, so we have to pay a fee in order to get an updated amount for LEOPS, and we'd have to, if we decide to go into LEOPS, we'd have to spend some money for an application fee. So the total is $35,000. If after we get the amended, plan, actuarial study, then we would pay, I think, additional $10,000 to join LEOPS.
Okay.
So that's why it's a total of 35 in this fiscal. If that's the,
This fiscal, next fiscal.
to pay it this fiscal for next fiscal.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, and hopefully we'll have some more money with speed cameras. Hopefully not, but I'm just saying. But another question, when it's an expansion of the community programming, can you explain that?
So last year, when we came to council and we did the last year's budget, there was an interest in doing some more community sports or expanding some of our programming in general. With every year, things get a little bit more expensive. I know that for the Independence Day celebration, we might have like a 10%. About a 10% cost raise between this year and next year. We're just doing more, I would say, than we've done when I first came here, and things just cost a little bit more. So I would say $30,000 is a very conservative estimate. And if the council wants to add maybe one or two more items or want to add the sports, that's what that $30,000 really is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was just, when you're saying sports, maybe that's throwing me off a little bit, 'cause I'm trying to-
There was a conversation last year about the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, so council member, yeah, we were looking to try to restart the Boys and Girls Club for Bladensburg, just given the importance of giving them something positive to do, and we have a couple of coaches interested, along with the Bladensburg Community Center partnering with us, so we couldn't get it off the ground by the end of 2024, so we'd be looking to do that sometime this year with Councilmember Dixon and myself.
Okay, when you said boys and girls, I know that from there, but when you say sports, I didn't put the two together.
No
Okay,
problem. Yeah, no problem at all. All right, any other questions or comments before we move to the next item? Okay, looking at the time, 6:22 already. So we're now into new business, and this is where we want to begin with appointments, first for the Board of Supervisors of Elections, and then secondarily the Ethics Commission. So we'll turn it over to the clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So at the last council meeting, we made a recommendation that I should interview all the new ethics or BOSE appointees. So in front of you tonight is Resolution 14, which has reappointments for the Board of Supervisors of Election. All three candidates were previously on the Board of Supervisors of Election and have been longtime residents. Resolution 15 is a recommendation for 4 new appointees for the Ethics Commission. I did have a chance to interview each and every one of the new appointees, asked them 8 questions, and I also created a new process for interviewing all new appointees to both of these boards. So included there, you'll see the process that I used, the questions that I asked them, and also the recommendation for the 4 new appointees. All of them have been, some of them are new residents, some have been long-term residents. All of them have different interests in why they want to be in the Ethics Commission, but pretty much everybody wants to serve the community and be part of this commission and, just to help out the community. Again, there's 3 recommendations that I've added to this for the council to decide on tonight. You can decide to appoint all 4 of the new appointees. You can decide, because of the fact that it should be probably an odd number just in case of voting, so you guys can vote for 3 of the new appointees and, pretty much have an alternate if you guys decide to, in case something happens to one of the 3, and one of them can, jump in at that time. or you can decide not to appoint anybody tonight. The only one that has to be appointed tonight is the 3 for the Board of Supervisor of Election because of the town ordinance that they have to be appointed before February 28th because of the election.
Thank you for that overview, Madam Clerk. And so the individuals listed, as was stated, are current volunteers who have been a part of the Board of Election Supervisors. So starting there, are there any questions from the council regarding the individuals named there? Okay. Councilmember McBride, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. And then I know it is best to have an odd number, not 4 people in the case of the Ethics Commission. And so would propose that we proceed with installing or appointing 3 individuals and then have an alternate if for some reason someone has to resign or can't participate. In terms of being an alternate, Madam Clerk, you would just let them know, whoever that individual is, that they were selected as an alternate and make it clear that if someone resigns or can't perform their duties, that they would be asked to step in. Is that what the process would be?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. All right. And so with the council, again, there's 4 individuals here, and we would just need to identify the 3 that we would be proposing. And do we need to go into the names of the individuals now so that we're clear for the 7 o'clock meeting? Because, I mean, from my standpoint, I think what I would be comfortable with is Mr. Wildheart, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Marshall, and then making Mr. Newsom an alternate, but am open to other input from the council in case you have other ideas. And I'm looking to the virtual screen, Councilmember Blunt and Councilmember McBride. And
Okay,
then I'll come to the room.
Are you ready for me, Madam Mayor? I said Madam Mayor. First time. Sorry. Do any one of us or the council members know these people personally to make a decision at this time? Or are we just reading what we have here and or having the clerk to give her advice on the ones that she interviewed? Because I don't know any of them, so I wouldn't know who's who or whatever to feel comfortable with saying anything.
Yeah, and you raise a good point, which is why I was thinking the 3 that I named have been involved in various community activities, so I know and have encountered them, whereas the one I recommended as an alternate is not known to any of us from my, asking other council members. And so I do think it would give that individual an opportunity to get out, get involved, to see and interact with the community more before taking on such an important role on that Ethics Commission, because it's not just the complaints. If there's a complaint about the council, it could be about a business. If it's an ethics violation, we need someone who's more familiar with the community to be able to weigh into those matters, and if necessary, work with our attorney to resolve them. So from that standpoint, I just don't feel comfortable appointing someone to that important commission that I don't know or haven't seen serving or participating in the community. So I just put forth my thought, but, tell me what you think, and Councilmember McBride, and then I'll come back to the council members in the room.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For me, I would like to, do we get to meet these people?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't ask them to come to this meeting. I think that would be something that you could ask, but sometimes some councils, can you not hear me?
It must be that. It might be that microphone. Give us 1 second, we're gonna switch.
Can you hear me now, Councilwoman?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, can you guys both hear me? We didn't ask them to come to the meetings. In other places that I've worked, there's sometimes that they would, people would be asked to come to the meeting and appear if they know they're going to be appointed. We did not do that in this case. So I mean, I think the thing about it is that and I will let Miss Watson kind of talk about her interviews, because she did do extensive interviews with each one of these candidates so that the council could kind of get to know, and that's why the notes are in there that she kind of put down the highlights, because she did do a lot of work on this. I just want to kind of give her roses for that, because she did call each one of these people, talk to them for about a half an hour apiece, is my understanding. So Miss Watson?
Yes, that's correct. I spoke to each and every one of the new appointees. I created, again, if you see the process here, I created the initial interviews, post interviews, and then I came up with 8 questions to ask them, basically to kind of get a feel for how long they've been a resident, what, why they want to serve on the Ethics Commission. Do they have any experience working on the Ethics Commission? Are they comfortable making ethical decisions? Any volunteer experience? Are they able to commit to the role? And how will they handle conflict of interest? And also, how would they handle a decision that needs to be made on the Ethics Commission that might affect their, a personal view or something that might affect them personally. So again, I'm comfortable with all the candidates. However, I do feel like the ones that have been here for many years do have more experience with the town. Each of the residents have discussed, talked about different events that they've been part of, different programs that they enjoyed, and why they are, part of the community, and why they want to sit on this Ethics Commission. One of our appointees has been a resident for 26 years and volunteered to how many different events, and helped out at different things when he was a kid, and just, talked about how his grandfather was also helped out, So the 3 that the mayor did mention did talk about different events that they were talking about. Not saying that Mr. Newsom couldn't do it. I think he has a lot of experience with community and civic engagement, but when it comes to, if I would make a recommendation, when it comes to people who have been involved in the residents and coming to community events and being part of different activities, the 3 residents who've been here, the amount of years they have been part of different things. So that's just based on what I read. But again, I think all 4 could do the job, but if I had to pick, I would pick the same 3.
And Councilmember Blunt, would you be more comfortable if we asked the candidates to attend the March meeting? We don't have to appoint them tonight, so would that be better if they could appear? Just say a little bit about themselves at the March meeting before we formally appoint them. Would that be beneficial?
Yeah, because I know even though we can know people because they attend a program or whatever, but to see them and hear them speak, I think that would be better. Like Councilman McBride said, if we can meet them just for a few seconds, because I don't feel comfortable making a decision because they worked here or any one of them worked here or have volunteered for anything, making a decision based on that. I don't feel comfortable, but again, you wouldn't need my vote, but I don't feel comfortable that way, but I will feel comfortable just talking to them and seeing it that way. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, but at this point, we need someone bad.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilmember Blunt. I do want to acknowledge, though, that this is something that would be a difference. Previously, even before any of us were on the council, and when Councilmember Brown was on before, it was the same application process. There may or may not have been an interview, but they didn't necessarily meet the council prior to. So I do want to acknowledge that it has worked just fine having the regular process through. But again, if that is the desire of the council, we can ask them if you're okay to come to the March meeting and just say a little bit about themselves at the work session, and then in the 7 o'clock meeting, have it on the agenda to appoint them if the council is comfortable. Would that work?
I would go with the will of the council. I mean,
Okay.
at the point. So, I mean, I don't want to drag anything on. If it's worked that way, it's fine with me. But that's just, my opinion.
Yeah,
But
no, I totally
I'm fine.
understand. Okay, thank you. All right, Councilmember Brown, did you have a comment or question? Okay. All right, so from the council, just let me know what is the will of the council to ask them to come in March? I'm here, I'm seeing a head nod,
Well,
yes.
I think it will be good for them to come in. At least they'll get to meet the council. You know, at this point, yeah, at least they'll get to meet the council, and I would want to be in person if I was going to be appointed to something, to a board or
Agreed.
something. So, yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. But I thank you, Ms. Regine, for all the work that you did in vetting them.
Okay. So Councilmember Blunt, McBride, and Dixon, so we'll just plan to invite them to the March meeting if that's all right. Okay. Councilmember Dixon, is that good? Okay. All right, thank you.
So Mayor, on the agenda, we're going to table that resolution, and then we'll put it back for the next meeting.
Perfect, yes.
Okay.
And then, but we'll continue with the Board of Supervisors of Election appointments. Okay. And then, looking at item B, Resolution 16-2025, we'll turn it back over to the town administrator.
So, since I have a limited amount of time, this is the G3 grant, which is green, I always get it backwards, green streets, green jobs, green towns. What we're doing is we're working on an application for this. It's due in early March. I met with EcoSite last week was it last week? Yes, it was last week, to go through some opportunities that would work for a green street. And we're looking at 57th Avenue and Emerson for a raised sidewalk, because so that we can look at some opportunities with leveraging the amount of traffic and the schools in that location, so that we can do a pavered sidewalk. The other places that we looked at were the Quincy Road, but since it is a state road, we've been told that when we apply for these funds, because it's only a limited amount of funds, $150,000, they don't meet state highway standards, and they're very difficult to use this grant for state highway. So I am going to check in our meeting to see if in the future we can use maybe even planning dollars instead for the state highway road, because that was actually my number one choice, was trying to get rid of those barriers that we have going down the street and doing some boxes so that it was more attractive on the street. But that was what I was told by the grantor. So we will submit our grant on time, and this is a resolution of support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Town Administrator. Are there any questions about the G3 grant program? I appreciate you putting in the work to do it, and it's disappointing we can't apply it to the SHA area along Quincy, because it definitely is needed to make that look more visually appealing. But again, bringing it up to the District 3 engineer, I think, is still a good idea, just to see if they would be able to work with us on that. All right, so we'll move on to item C, Resolution 17-2025, and it's back to you, Madam Town Administrator.
Yeah, this is a grant for another grant for transportation that we're going to be working with the port towns on. I actually heard about this on the COG meeting, which, it's two things in one, that I went to a COG meeting and then I heard about a grant, and we are able to apply underneath the county because we are not a primary on the COG grant team, on the COG transportation. So the county has allowed us to apply, and so they're going to be giving us a letter of support, which we have to draft for them for the port towns. But it will be a study either on streetscape. Remember at the last port towns meeting, we discussed maybe unifying what the port towns look like as far as some signage and streetscape and things like that. So it'll be a joint project on that, or it'll be a joint traffic project to look at intersections that cross, like the Peace Cross, in regards to that. So we're working through that issue, and I'm going to be leaning on Rob because he's a much better writer on these than I am. So Rod and I are going to work through this one and get this in. So that's what that one is. And all the port towns will do a subsequent resolution.
Perfect, and you can do either or both. And is the goal to do both the application for the 80K in technical assistance and then the 100,000 for design?
Yes, that is the goal, is to do it for both.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the council regarding this program? Sorry, I gotta put Zoom back up so I make sure I don't miss Councilmember Blunt and McBride. Okay, you guys are good. Okay. All right, so we will keep moving to item D, approval for a contract. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time coming for HR consulting.
It's Been a long time, but I have to say that this one was done through the persistence of Miss Watson and keeping this moving, because she, as many times as I've gone, maybe this one, maybe that one, she's come back to me and said, Michelle, are we gonna do this? And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. So she's she's kept it going. So the recommendation is Ramos HR Consulting. They're a firm that's located out of the West Coast, but they actually have some offices here on the East Coast. It'll be pretty much virtual, but they will come in to help us do the kickoff of this. Their rate is very affordable compared to some of the other ones that we looked at, and I think from Vito's standpoint, it was price that impressed him. But at the same time, we were very impressed by their knowledge of local government HR, and we really feel like they will probably do a pretty competitive job and provide us with some HR things that we were doing. Chief Collington was also on these calls, and I think they did answer some of his questions regarding police procedures, and I think that we all kind of came together to do that. But I don't know. I just wanted to make sure that I check in with the team and see if there's anybody else who has any comments. But I do fully recommend this firm. We did interview a total of 8 firms, and we did a lot of calls with people. So that's my story. But Chief, Regime, anybody else have anything to add?
I just wanted to add that I do feel comfortable with Ramos HR Consulting. They have over 20 years of experience combined between the two consultants on the firm. And I think even though that they're online and they're not here, they have worked out. They said they'll be there 2 to 3 times a year, to support us at a reasonable rate. So they can help us out with our benefits. They're going to help us out with our policies and procedures. So again, I'm comfortable on the people that we've interviewed so many people many times to come up with this, and I think the leadership team is probably happy and excited to get this going.
That's great. Chief, anything to add?
Well, I agree with what Regine and Ms. Michelle said. My questions were dealing with internal affairs, sensitive reports, and handling them and protecting them by law. We still have to fall under the state of Maryland. So I just wanted to gauge their experience in dealing with law enforcement agencies, handling internal affairs files and confidential files. How would they secure them? So they satisfied those questions, so I was good.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Tonelli, anything else you'd like to add?
Any help is much appreciated. So yeah, we've been talking about this, Mayor, for 3 years, 4 years maybe now. So it's nice that we have the resources now to go out and get it, because as we're expanding, and we have expanded, we have that much more need with the human resources. So, but with this firm, we talked to them and very comfortable with them. And it wasn't just the price; it was just what they offered too. So, but price was pretty much up there. Yes.
For Mr. Tonelli.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you all taking the time to go through interviewing the 8 firms and come up with a recommendation. I know just personally, I think it's important that we elevate how we're providing services to our staff and also how we educate and inform them. And so Vito's heard me say this for 7 years at least. The fact is, at the end of the year, we need to be providing benefit statements to our staff so they know you don't just get a paycheck from here, but here's the value of how the town is investing in you and how that affects your total compensation. As you're thinking about retention, people can be baited away with a salary. But if they realize that salary is only one piece of their compensation and the town's putting X number of thousands additionally into that, plus professional development, plus all these other things, it's our job to communicate. We can't just assume that staff know it. And then similarly, educating them about employee benefits. Health is a concern across the board. I don't care what department you work in. And so having a professional open house where they can be here to support the vendors. So Vito doesn't have to call Care First and MetLife Dental and all the rest of them, but having this point of contact who can have those folks come out, educate our staff about it, about the wellness benefits that can help them. So we have healthy and fit police officers who are taking advantage of the Care First program, where you can have a coach who helps you with your weight loss and your fitness to keep you encouraged along the way, or maybe it's Public Works because they have to do more physical activity, or just anyone who may be sedentary and shouldn't be sitting all day and thinking about how they take their 15-minute breaks and go outside and utilize the track, the little walk-in park. So, I mean, we have a job to make sure we're taking care of our people. And, you know, there's this label on the inside of very delicate clothing and dresses that says treat this fabric with care, but I think we need to treat our people with care. So this goes a long way in helping us to do that very thing. So any comments or questions from the council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How long is the contract with the Ramas?
It's a 2-year contract with a possible 1-year extension.
Is that right? I thought it was 3 and 2.
It's 2 and 1.
2 and 1.
Two and one.
We asked them, I think that in their proposal, they asked for a 3, and we negotiated down to a 2 and 1, because what we wanted to be able to do is to show you within a couple years, if we don't need it, that we have an option to get out of it. Like if we want to hire a person, like I think the thing about it is that we'd hope one day is that we could hire someone. So we did a 2 and 1 so that we could be able to do that, where they would kind of have a transition year with a consultant.
Have they worked with other municipalities before?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes.
And it was mentioned that they're based in California. A lot of the references are for counties in California or cities in California. I did see one community on the West Coast, and that they have someone in North Carolina, I think it was, who can provide services here. So at least there's someone on this side of the country that if we need them in person, they can get to us. All right, so with that, I know we're down to 14 minutes and we still have 25 minutes worth of topics, so.
I'd asked for Jared, he's been on for a long time.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Blunt.
Can I say one thing? Okay.
Yes.
With the agent, with the company, so the staff and employees would be able to talk with them, of course, confidentially, but would they be able to call them, or will we get to know how that worked? Is there a book or some type of manual to say what they do and how they do? If an employee have a problem, they can give them a call. How did that whole thing work? Or
Yes, Councilman, member, there is actually a way that they can confidentially call the HR person. What they actually will have is a confidential email and also a confidential phone line that they can call in for issues. And they can help to also deal with issues regarding healthcare and things like that, so that but we can help they'll help us to be better service people, but there'll be now an HR, resource email that people can reach out to, and also a phone number. So they'll give us a person that they can be, so if they send an email or they do a call, that they'd be called back in a certain amount of time. Does that make sense?
there's no manual that we can look at?
There's
checks and balance.
They will be, actually, they'll be helping us with our HR manual, so that our HR manual will now include the information for that, so that they can so that they will be helping us to make sure that we have checks and balances. Because that's really what they're going to do, is start to build our infrastructure so that we can actually utilize it as we move on. So there will be a way for employees to be able to confidentially, so they're going to that's one of the first things they're going to be doing, is working through our manual to update it and to make sure that employees do have that opportunity, so they don't necessarily have to call, let's say, the town administrator, but to give them that kind of resource. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, thank you for that.
So they're basically online?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Blunt. Yes.
So they're online, not on ground?
Correct. Yes. All right, so with that, if the council is amenable, we'll move to the trade school update since we have Mr. Hawkins with us online, and then we may have to just forego the rest of the items since they're already on the 7 o'clock meeting. Is that okay? Because we're coming up on 6:49. Okay, so Mr. Hawkins is here with us, our economic development consultant, and we'll turn it over to you and the town administrator for a trade school update.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Good to see you all. Good evening, everyone. I want to give a quick update on the trade school progress. As you know, a few fiscal years ago, the town of Bladensburg was awarded $1 million earmark from the Prince George's federal delegation that included Senator Cardin, Congressman Brown, Senator Van Hollen, and a few others. So where things stand right now, we've been having bi-weekly meetings with employee Prince George's. They're headed up, their executive director is Walter Simmons. We meet bi-weekly to talk about progress. And the reason why the partnership came about, we have a relationship with Walter. Employee Prince George's handles workforce development. From a distance, he knew that we got the earmark, and things just aligned. We had a conversation over the summer. Things just aligned, and we've identified the international school, and we're having some conversation about what a build out and what the trade school having a presence there would look like. Also, there has been some conversation about partnering and utilizing the volunteer fire department and providing, I guess, firefighter training to residents of, Bladensburg, Port Towns. We're still trying to iron that out. I will say that there has been some conversation about putting the trade school at the old Crossroads location. While, I'll say that $1 million won't be able to buy that land, and then there comes a question of maximizing the value of that. I think that the Crossroads property is, being offered at about a few $1 million, maybe even $5 million. So, just from a value standpoint, it makes more sense to partner with the entity, get in someone's building, and move forward in that direction. Going back to the international school, Walter's leading that conversation. Our understanding, there will be a time when we meet with the school system and really start to iron things out. There was a question from the school system. I guess one of the hurdles or one of the things that they want to figure out is, what does safety or provide some type of barrier between the trade school participants and the actual kids going to the school, what that would look like, which to me is pretty promising, because either through retrofits or some type of staggering the schedule or making sure the trade school is open when the kids are out of school, we can figure that out. So that was the main concern they had so far. I think we can work that out. I think we're making some good progress. Another challenge that we're going to have to overcome is, quite honestly, the new administration doing what they're doing. There is a level of uncertainty around grants and some of this funding that's been allocated from the past prior administrations, prior Congresses. I have been in contact with HUD. They say that we're good. Quite honestly, I want to, that was a few weeks ago, I want to follow up with them again to make sure that that's the case, just due to the volatile nature of this administration. So we're making progress. I had a conversation with the CEO of Ernest Mayer. He's interested. We're going to sit down and talk. He provided some, a quick, overview of some resources or what, potential partnership could look like. So we're making progress on it, and but we still have a lot of work to do and some things to overcome.
And then just one addition, I did share with Walter that the Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department is also willing to let us use the training center to get the training off the ground, and then also potentially help with education in terms of the firefighter cadet program. And more specifically, this cadet program is already being offered in a couple of Prince George's County high schools. And so the difference is we would be offering the training outside of the school setting using our local fire department, and then also partnering with them, because currently, for example, at Flowers High School, they use the volunteers to teach the training. So these folks are already certified and would be an easier path to getting this pilot program off the ground. So that's all I had to add. Town Administrator, okay.
I wanted to let the council members ask questions.
Yeah. So, Mr. Hawkins, thank you for joining us and giving this update. We appreciate you being on. If there are no other questions, Councilmember Blunt.
Hi, of course, I was trolling Facebook, and I came across, everyone know Trayvon White in Ward 8. There's a program in DC that the DMV area build a trade school in the Sums building. I think it might be some others might eat, so others may eat, where they offering trades to the DMV for HVAC, building maintenance, medical tech. I wonder if we can reach out to them, to some of their trainees, to see are they willing to come over to our location and offer the same thing. They might be even getting a grant where we might not have to pay, I'm not sure. But would there be a problem to check into this program that's already and just started in DC? And it's a trade school in the DMV area that's teaching trades, not only but it's teaching everything, the HVAC, building maintenance, just to reach out to them and see what all they offer and can they come over to us? Because it's all being done.
Yes, Councilmember, I'm happy to reach out. I do know that Walter with Employ Prince George's, he, has a pretty strong network of people. I'm pretty sure he knows what you're talking about, and so I can run that past him. Also wanted to highlight, I meant to mention it earlier, that already working with Walter, I'm kind of fuzzy on the specifics, but he wrote us into a grant that should be bringing in a little bit more funding for this trade school. So we're making some progress, but like I said, we have some more things to overcome. But Councilmember, I'll talk with Walter, and then we'll.
I'll send you the information so it can get into his hands. I mean, we need all areas.
Yeah,
Okay,
and Councilmember Blunt, to your point, that's one of the future objectives for it. We just wanted to pilot one program initially, but the HVAC, the masonry, the electrician, plumbing, all of those are things that we've talked about with our businesses, because they're right here in the Bladensburg Industrial Park, and they need this next generation of workers. And so they're willing to help us, but we just have to start, small, so that we can scale up to that. So it is on our minds to be thinking about those additional programs. So the fact that you brought this other resource that we can look into and potentially connect with is perfect. So thank you for that suggestion.
I didn't know we were just looking for one resource at a time. I thought it was a trade school for everything, not just fire department.
That's correct. That's what I was just saying. Maybe I wasn't clear. However, when we talked about this from the inception, the goal was to get into the specific trades as far as electrical work, plumbing work, things regarding masonry and cement work. We want to be broad HVAC. That is the goal. However, we just needed to start with a pilot program that we could easily get off the ground quickly. And this cadet program, the curriculum is already there. So we just wanted to start with that and then expand it once we have some successes with it. So this resource that you're sharing can help us so we can be prepared to expand and get those other courses together. It's just, we can't do 10 right out the gate. We don't have the resources for that. And to Mr. Hawkins' point, Walter with Employ Prince George's has already stood up some schools in Prince George's County. So he's got the resources from the county perspective that can help us expedite this as we get going. So we're all on the same page in terms of wanting to see this expand beyond not just, public safety, but into those more traditional trades. Does that make sense?
Yes, because the DMV is District, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you're
Yeah,
talking about grants, that grants cover every,
right,
something we might not have to do. That's all I'm saying. But I
yeah.
will check for it personally, and also I'll send it to you because just one program, if we can have two, we're not paying for it. And we do have the school, there is space for more than just one program. Even if you move the fire department over to the fire department and then use the school, as you say, we do have that school, then we can do another trade there. I don't see why we have to just do one. We have $1 million.
Right, but we also have to make sure we have the staff to support it. That's where we're going. We just want to make sure we build it right, but agree 100% with everything you said. Right now, I'm going to end the conversation here so we can have a motion to adjourn because it's almost time for the 7 o'clock meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember McBride. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. We're adjourned. We'll be right back in 1 minute. Everybody, give us just 1 minute, okay? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Bladensburg Town Council meeting for February the 10th, 2025. We're now called to order. The next item on our agenda is the opening prayer by Councilmember Dixon. One second, Mr. Gray, the plug came out. Okay.
Father God, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your grace. We thank you, God, that we could be here tonight, God. God, I pray that you bless the council, the police officers, our resident. Oh, God, that as we come tonight, oh, God, help us to make great decisions that will impact our resident life, God. Have your way in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Dixon. At this time, we will stand, those who are able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome everyone to the February Town Council meeting. Happy Black History Month, happy Valentine's Love Month, happy everything. Thank you for being here. The next item on tonight's agenda is the actual approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Dixon. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any corrections or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to presentations for tonight, beginning with the Bladensburg Police Department. So Chief Collington, we'll turn it over to you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, community, and colleagues. It's been a pleasure to bring new team members on to join the Bladensburg Police Department as well as our code enforcement. As you know, we had a vacancy in the code enforcement division for some time. We were happy to hire within. We hired Mr. Kelly Osuji, who was hired with the Bladensburg Public Works Department in 2023. And on January 27th, he accepted an appointment with the code enforcement section. So he will be presented here next month with, along with the new officer that we hired. We also made an offer to fill one of the vacancies in the police ranks with police officer Dirk Kennard. Mr. Kennard accepted his position on today, so this is his first week of doing his onboarding. He is not ready to be sworn in. He will be sworn in by next month. He would take the oath with the mayor, but he started his career with the New Carrollton Police Department. He was hanging around with our police department for about 2 years, and he wanted to be the police. He finally graduated from the police academy and showed back up, wanted to have an appointment. He applied, he was interviewed amongst other candidates, and we extended a job offer. He accepted, and today is his first day with his on board. So that's Mr. Dirk Kennard. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Chief, for that update, and congratulations on 2 great new hires. We're definitely pleased that Mr. Osuji is having such a great time with the town that he just switched departments. He didn't leave us, and so that is always good to see people advance. Any comments or questions from the council regarding the hires for the public safety team? Okay. Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, just want to say congratulations, that's all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of meeting minutes for the January 13th Town Council meeting. Flip in the packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second? Seconded by, was that Councilmember Blunt?
Yes, second, sorry.
Okay, thank you. And any corrections or comments regarding the minutes? I just wanted to ask Madam Clerk if it was possible under this section for promotion and recognition, if you could just list the 5 police officers there, and then for the time that we were called to order, I think this is a little bit later than what it actually was. It was closer to 7, it's at 7:32, but the meetings usually start at 7 or thereabouts. Yeah, okay. And then under 7 for public comments, it was Mr. Weiss, Weiss. And I think that was it. Any other amendments to the minutes from the council? Okay, so hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. Next, we have on the agenda the approval of the Town Council closed session meeting minutes for January 28th, 2025. I did not see those in my packet. Council members, did you have those by chance? No. So we may have to push that to the March meeting for actually both of these. So let me just make a note. Okay.
Sorry about that, Mayor and Council. It looks like it wasn't to your packets. It was in the folder, but
Yeah, no problem. So we'll just look out for those for the March council meeting and get those approved as necessary. And then that moves us on down the agenda to number 7, which is public comment. So we'll turn it over to the Madam Clerk to take us through that.
my first resident, we have Ms. Susan McCutcheon.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor, Council, everybody here and at home. Susan McCutcheon, Spring Road. I first of all want to say how wonderful the Black History Month celebration was at the community center on Saturday. Unfortunately, the weather gave a snafu, and I think more people would have been there had it. But I must say it was very good, and I really appreciated it. I was there anyway, but hey, what you might as well stay, right? I also want to give an update on the maglev issue, the superconducting magnetic levitation train project that is proposed. They're going great guns, and we've been saying this for a while, even though it's on pause. Just last week there was an article in the Baltimore Business Journal. They were speaking to, Northeast Maglev was speaking to Baltimore business people and saying, oh, we're going straight ahead, we're going with this project, we're getting it out there, we're advertising it, and the more it's advertised, the better, and everybody loves it across the country. So at any rate, the other thing they're doing is offering unpaid internships to universities, especially HBCUs, for interns, at least a couple of interns, to go to Japan for 2 weeks this summer and look at the train and all that kind of thing. So they're really out there selling it, and just watch. That's all I have to say. They're really pushing it. I don't know that they can push it through with this agenda, with the orange one in office or whatever. But it's very disconcerting that they're going as though everything's been approved. And we are doing the best we can at the Maryland Coalition for Responsible Transit to hold their feet to the fire to make sure we know what's going on. But it's always difficult to follow, and especially they have big money and lobbying, so it's kind of hard. So I think that's all it for now. But again, thank you. Saturday's event was very nice.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCutcheon. Madam Clerk, was there another signed up?
Yes, you have Mr. Steve White.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have some questions about the we talked about building a new town hall, and I hadn't heard anything in a while, so I sent the questions in to the mayor and council and staff. I was wondering, has there been any research done to build a new town hall and town offices? And is it practical to build a town hall on the lower level of Bostwick property? And is there road access on Quincy Place to access the lower Bostwick property without going through the shopping center property? Are there any other reasonable alternate sites to build a town hall? Like next to Quarles Gas Station, there's a lot for sale on Edmonston Road. And do we have any cost estimates to build a town hall? And is there any money in the 2025 budget for estimates and building the new town hall? As I understand it, Bladensburg received a $500,000 grant to build a town hall, and I was wondering, does that grant expire? And another thing I was wondering about, the Public Works building has damage there, and I was wondering if our town insurance and the car insurance of the person that hit it covers it. And I'd like to suggest maybe putting steel poles in front of it when they do fix it, like they did down at Sunnybrook entrance, so it won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. White.
And that's the end of public comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Clerk. At this time, that concludes public comments for tonight, and we do not have any items under unfinished business for tonight. However, we have a few under financial business that we'll move right into, beginning with the approval and adoption of the FY 2024 audit. We did have a presentation from our vendor at the 5:30 work session. She could not join us for the 7 o'clock meeting, so our treasurer, Mr. Tonelli, will give us an overview.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to share a screen real quick to one second. Okay, so this is the audit for the statements ended June 30, 2024, last fiscal year. The main thing everybody looks for in here is this, and the auditor's opinions that stated that is a positive opinion that we passed the audit with everything they tested, and it goes into their audit process, and all this is going to be posted online, and will also be under the financial section of the website. Getting down into the statement of net position, this is per se a balance sheet you would see in the corporate world. You can see that the total assets there, including everything above. The investments here are held in the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool. So that is a state chartered investment option for municipalities. That's the largest part, with the 4.2 and 1.8, about $6 million of the funds are invested there. The total assets are just over, what's that? Okay. The total assets are just over $10 million. We have some deferred outflows of resources. That is to capture what was the pension, part of the current portion of the pension liability. The liabilities are 4.4 million. And it leaves a net position of just over $6 million, with 2.2 million of that is unrestricted, readily available for cash. We did make a lot of investment in fixed assets last year. We did invest $1.2 million, almost $1.2 million of fixed assets last year, and those are things that we have been deferring for the last couple years, and we've had surpluses the last 2 years, and we basically use those surpluses and also the speed camera funds from previous years to fund that as well. So that's funded through the fund balance from speed camera and the operational fund balance from surpluses from previous years. You can get that. The next thing is the assets that are in the fund statement assets. These just look at the current assets and current liabilities. This is where it gets into what people like to see in government operations. Where are you right now, today? Take out all the long-term stuff. Take out all the capital items. Take out all the deferred pension liabilities. And this shows you what is available. You can see the available fund balance down here. Unassigned is 3.4 million. It's a little bit higher because it takes out some of the restrictions on the previous balance sheet. I know it's crazy. It's like two balance sheets presented in an audit. It's a balance sheet for business purposes and a balance sheet for fund purposes. And this is the statement of revenues and expenses for last fiscal year. The change in fund balance here is a little bit misleading, that 1.5 million, because again, it doesn't reflect the fund balance transfer from the speed camera funds from previous year to fund the capital assets, and also the transfer from fund balance as well. This is just like a current one. It takes out the long-term items as well. And you can see the change in net position. The difference between those two statements here are on Schedule A5 and how it reconciles down to a change in net position. A lot of these notes in here, the next 15 to 18 pages of notes accompany the financials to tell you the basis, how everything is calculated. Our largest liability is, I'm going to scroll down here to the very end, is our net pension liability. And that is basically, that's a long-term liability that all the municipalities and counties and agencies that invest in the Maryland State Retirement and Pension Plan, they all take a portion of the liabilities to balance out the books. And this is looking out for like an actuarial study, the total liability to cover all the covered employees right now. So through retirement. It's stated on here. It's just it has to be disclosed. So where else did she touch on? The budgetary comparison. You can see what the original budget was, the final amended budget, the actual amounts, and the variances there. The largest variances were with the ARPA. The ARPA funds, we had a lot more scheduled to spend, and that didn't happen. That got deferred until this fiscal year. So we did not realize that those revenues there. The same with the grants. We were awarded the grants, but we didn't actually have the grant activity until this fiscal year. So that's why you see the funds are less than budget. And I'm going to watch my time here. What's that?
You might want to talk about the funding.
Okay, yeah. The main thing also, because of the ARPA funding, it pushed us over to a higher standard of audit, that we actually had to do another audit on top of that for your agreed upon procedures for the ARPA funds, and there were no findings there as well. So we got a clean audit all the way through.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli, for the overview. Are there any questions from the council? Let me start online first and just check if there are hands raised. Councilmember, let me see. Okay, no. Councilmember Brown or Dixon, any comments or questions? Yeah, agreed. And I do want to note that under the restricted amounts for our net position, for residents to understand the amount, the $551,917 that we have for HURs, which are the highway user revenues. That's where they track that. Again, that's for roadway improvements and so forth, and that is reflected in here, that money that we get back basically from the gas tax and other assessments through the state of Maryland. But I do appreciate you saying it, Mr. Tonelli, but I'm going to read it in totality from the auditors, which states, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland, as of June 30th, 2024, and the respective changes in the financial position for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. And so we want our residents to understand, those in the room and those watching online, we did have a clean audit once again this year, and that is something that is a testament of the hard work of our finance team. So can we please give Mr. Tonelli and Tina a round of applause? I know when I started on the council, the town's budget was $6 million, and now it has doubled since 2017. And we have the same small number of administrative team members who are doing the day-to-day operations to account for those funds accurately. And so we don't want you to think that we take it for granted. We truly do appreciate the work with accuracy that you and your team put into the day-to-day operations, but then also supporting the audit, which is a whole nother job when you have to respond to their questions, pull the files that they need in a timely fashion. And so we really do appreciate all your hard work here, Mr. Tonelli, and everyone on the team who supported, because sometimes they have to go to Michelle for things, or Miss Regine, or the chief. So thank you to everyone who helped support that process. Again, seeing no other
Thank you, Mayor.
comments or questions. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Tonelli. Yeah, no worries. And so with that, I'll call for a motion to approve and adopt the FY 2024 audit.
I so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Blunt, seconded by Councilmember Dixon. Any comments or questions before I call the vote? Hearing, seeing no hands, all in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The audit has been approved and adopted for FY 2024. The next item is an emergency ordinance 10-2025, and Madam Town Administrator, will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an emergency ordinance to amend the fiscal year 25-26 in regards to the ARPA, which is what is it called? The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, yeah, I think no. So anyways, these are a series of budget amendments. The first one is to decrease the assistance for, unused assistance for businesses and nonprofits by $75,000. The second is to increase the food assistance by an additional $20,000 for holiday meals, which was spent in December of 2024. There is an increase of $891 for residential camera program, which were the reimbursements for Ring cameras for residents. The next one is a decrease for $84,000 for unfunded projects in the community initiatives section that we had budgeted. A increase of $5,600 for contractual services for the Boswick House Consulting. A $11,000 for consulting services with low impact design for planning and engineering services that were provided. An increase of about $10,456 for police radios previously purchased under the speed camera funds. An increase for capital outlay for $138,947 for a purchase of 3 vehicles for the police department that were previously under speed camera funds. An increase for capital projects, which is of $500,000 to obligate remaining funds for the flood project that has been invoiced and encumbered that will be paid out by December 2026. And the final one is a decrease for the speed camera outlay of $149,403 to reclass these into ARPA staff is making these suggestions because of the fact that we needed to expend or obligate funding for ARPA by December 31st, 2024. And this emergency ordinance allows us to do such and to then have something in regards to the next year's audit for 2025 that we would show where we are making changes. I think in the previous discussion, I just mentioned that the speed camera funds are coming in a little bit less than we had thought, and so that there might be, that's why we are doing some reclassifications to ARPA from speed cameras. But that's because people are driving well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chief, for keeping us safe. People are obeying the posted speed limit, and that is the goal, so congratulations. So Town Administrator, thank you for addressing the need for using the ARPA funds for those police expenses. And then it was brought up in the work session, but I do want to restate it. The $500,000, we have obligated that for the flood mitigation project, which is done in partnership with Prince George's County government. And that is to significantly improve our infrastructure along the culvert that runs through town and along Quincy Run, which feeds directly into the Anacostia River. So we did discuss this more in detail at the work session, but are there any other questions regarding the emergency ordinance or comments? Yes, Councilmember Dixon.
Michelle, I have a question for you in regards to the decrease of business and nonprofit funds, the 75,000. How does this affect the businesses and the nonprofit organizations?
So we had budgeted, I believe, over 150. Yeah, I think he needs to. But we had budgeted a great deal more for businesses, and it was a $3,000 payment to businesses that, and we had really, put it out far and wide to all of our business owners, even small businesses, like people that had businesses in their homes, actually got that $3,000, not 300, $3,000 from the town. I believe the total spent was.
They spent this year because all spent previous.
Yeah, we spent most of it the previous year, so we didn't have any requests in FY25 for it. So that's the reason why we're asking to reallocate those funds over. And then the other thing, just since I'm on the mic, is that, Mayor, because I read all of the details of this into the record, if Ms. Watson, if you want her to just to read the to read the beginning of the ordinance, then her reading all of those items back into the record again, it probably would save her some time because she's got 3 other resolutions today.
That is fair, because that's really the meat of the ordinance. And so if the council is amenable to that, we can vote to have the clerk read the abbreviated version of the emergency resolution. Is that okay with the council? Okay, we would just need to formally make a motion to allow the clerk to read the abbreviated emergency ordinance number 10-2025.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any comments or questions before I call the vote? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please read the abbreviated emergency ordinance?
Ordinance number 10-2025, fiscal year 2025 budget amendment. An emergency ordinance to amend the operating budget of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland for the 2025 fiscal year, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Whereas the town administrator of the town of Bladensburg has made a recommendation to the mayor and town council to amend the FY 2025 budget to reallocate funds as part of the fiscal year. And whereas the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg have determined that it is the best interest of the town to pass this as a budget amendment ordinance at the February 10th town council meeting. Now further be enacted and ordained by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg that the following amendments are made to the general operating budget for the fiscal year 2025 for the purpose of closing out the ARPA funds for purchases and allocations prior to December 31st, 2024 for the following items that were previously read. and be further enacted and ordained that upon passing this ordinance shall be authenticated by the signature of the mayor and town clerk and shall be recorded in the book kept for that purpose. In addition, the ordinance shall be published by the posting of a certified copy of it in the town hall for 10 days following its adoption to Article 2, Section 209 of the Charter of the Town of Bladensburg, Maryland, and will be effective on the 10th day of February 2025.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. So with that, is there a motion to adopt emergency ordinance number 10-2025?
That's a move.
Moved by Councilmember Dixon. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any comments or questions before we call the vote? Hearing none, I'll call the vote now. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The emergency ordinance is passed. Next, we'll proceed with FY 2026 budget overview with the town administrator and Mr. Tonelli.
No problem. So it's budget time again, and we tried to make the budget exciting with a little bit of graphic, some graphics, which I think that you got it. All right, Vito's going to share. So I'm going to go through the first two slides. The first
Can I
topic.
just tell you, mission accomplished. You made it exciting with the template for the slide. It's so old school cartoon. I love it.
It's bam! Wow, Vita. I mean, this is actually Ray. Ray, I told him make it sort of exciting. So this is excitement. So tonight's topics are some of our budget assumptions, the fund balance trends, revenue options, and other needs, and then the next steps. I'm going to go through some of the budget assumptions that we're making. What we're going to do is look at compensation. What we have on there is that we are anticipating looking at our COLA and merit for employees. At this moment, I can't give you a number because I'd like to be able to look at all of our budget, our total compensation, because a big part of our compensation, which is not listed here, is our health insurance, and it has gone up between 5 to 6% each year. And so that change in the coming year, which we probably are anticipating another increase, may affect COLA and merit. So that's one of those things that I will be making that in the February 18th meeting. I'll come up with some initial estimates for you. Capital projects, we just wanted to talk about, there are a couple of capital projects that are out there. The federal earmark for the trade school, the bond bills, which kind of answer what Mr. Weiss was talking about earlier, and I will send him a formal email regarding some of this, is that there's $800,000 for the bond bill, and that has to be spent within 7 years of receiving them, and some were received in 21 and 23. So to give you that timeline. And then CDBG funding for roadways and sidewalks of $250,000, which will probably be paid for in 2025. Portion of the bond bill for town hall, because we do have an engineering and architectural firm on to do the new town hall. Part of it was awarded this year, but we will not probably pay out the majority of that contract until the beginning of 2026's budget. So there's where capital projects are. Transfer from fund balance. Last year, we transferred, the estimate was that we were going to transfer 708,304 from fund balance. We may need 6% this year to balance the budget. That's, again, we're going to be checking, as I mentioned in the last one, we'll be checking the couch cushions for money and making sure that we, trim all of we're no longer buying paper clips and things like that. No, we'll seriously be looking at our revenues and looking at some of our expenses to try to reevaluate where we're going. This year, we also may have some shortfalls in regards to speed cameras because everyone is driving so well, like I mentioned before. Next slide. So the next slide is what the mayor was actually talking about earlier, which is how our budget has grown over the years. Back in 2017, we were at under about $6 million, about 6.5 over the last 3 years. And with the advent of ARPA, our budget has grown to close to 13 million. And this year, we probably will be reaching about 13.5 million to cover most of the costs that we have. And so that's part of what we will be bringing back. Next slide is the revenue options. So we're developing estimates that take into the account changes in assessed evaluations on homeowners because of the fact that over the last 3 years, there's a rolling period that people's assessments have gone up due to property values going up. So that comes out on Valentine's Day. So we did say that could be a Valentine's Day gift, or it could be a bloody massacre on Valentine's Day, but I think it's probably going to be it might be a good day to look at what the evaluations are. And then the other portion is the income tax, which that comes out in March. We're also looking at all available sources of new revenue from other services, which we'll try to look at to see where we are, where we can actually save or figure out where the funding can, kind of change around. We do have some grant funding, but grant funding doesn't pay for operations. It really replaces capital purchases. So we've been working really hard at capital purchases or capital projects for our grant project funding, but our day-to-day funding really is not affected by grants. So which is a kind of good for us versus some other forms of government. Okay. Can you not hear us? Oh, sorry. So other needs. Okay. Other needs. Public safety vehicles and recurring leases. On this is we talked about the fact that a lot of our vehicles are aging. We purchased a lot of vehicles in 2017, 2018, and believe even though I drive a 2017 car, I guess I could use a new car. But from police officers, they really could use a new car from 2017 because they're driving a lot harder and a lot than I am. So 2017 cars are becoming at their end of life. And so that's why that $200,000 is there for the recurring leases and looking at different ways to purchase vehicles. LEOPS is a law enforcement, that's the law enforcement retirement. It's an additional retirement for police officers and our public safety. In 2026, in order to enter in 2027, which is kind of we have to do a study, which would cost us around $25,000 to do the study, and then $10,000 to enter LEOPS. LEOPS would not start until FY '27, and there's a further presentation on this at the end of the council to kind of give you an understanding of what that is. Public space, safety space rental. We are, as everybody, as Mr. Weiss kind of pointed out, we don't have a lot of space here at Town Hall, and we are looking at other options. And last year, we did look at maybe renting space for the police department for some functions, so they could actually spread out some more, because we do not have that space here at the Town Hall complex. And that's what that is. Town Hall bonding and construction. That is a long-term issue that we really need to look at this year in FY '26, which is the next fiscal year. Because that actually has a cost for evaluating how we do the bonding process and how we actually start to get ourselves ready to show that we can actually pay for a new town hall, which is what we estimate is between $12 and $15 million. And we don't have enough within our fund balance, so we would need bonding. And the state of Maryland has a bonding program for small municipalities, which we can use. So that's the process that we don't know exactly how much it's going to cost yet, but it's something to consider. And then expansion of community programming. Last year, the council asked about doing some additional programming with the Boys and Girls Club and having a unit that did sports here in town. We estimate that with that and some other additional costs, because we do pretty extensive programming all throughout the year for community events, that $30,000 would be necessary for that. And it's something that every year that it just keeps on going up because prices keep going up. All right, so those are the other needs. So what are the next steps? The next steps is that through March through May, we will have additional budget sessions. Actually, the first budget session we will have is February 18th with the town council, where we'll go through their budget, and we will provide initial estimates on where we think we are overall. The budget ordinance, the first reading is April 14th, 2025. And then if there are any changes in real estate taxes, we'll need at least a week to advertise, and those would go into effect, or the advertisements at least would be April 7th or May 5th. The tax rate hearing, if there was one, if there's any changes to tax rates, would be April 14th or May 12th, if the council decides to kind of wait until later budget sessions. The final budget session is April 29th, And then we're looking at adoption either May 12th or June 9th, 2025. It just looks like 205. Sorry, there's missing the 2025. But that's when you would do the final budget ordinance adoption. And then, thank you, because we're all superheroes.
Bam. All right, thank you for that. Any questions or comments for the town administrator or Mr. Tonelli? I know we talked through it a bit in the work session, so it looks like there are no questions at this time. So we'll conclude the financial business for tonight and move right into new business and turn it back over to the clerk to read Resolution 14-2025.
Resolution 14, 2025, a resolution of the Town Council of Bladensburg appointing members to the Board of Supervisors of Election for a term beginning March 1st, 2025, and ending February 28th, 2027. Whereas the Town of Bladensburg is committed to maintaining a free and fair election to ensure the integrity of the electoral process, and whereas the Board of Supervisors of Election serves as the official election body for the town, offering their time and talents to oversee the administration of municipal elections, and whereas the BOSOE is responsible for evaluating and developing election-related materials, meeting monthly as needed, working collaboratively with the town clerk and town staff to ensure the proper administration of elections, and whereas the BOSOE will oversee the next municipal election scheduled to occur on Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, and whereas the town council recognizes the dedication and contribution of town residents who serve on this important board. Now therefore be it resolved by the town council of Bladensburg that the following residents are hereby appointed to serve on the Board of Supervisors of Election for a term beginning March 1st, 2025 and ending February 28, 2027. 1. Elizabeth Saunders. 2. Carletta Lundy. 3. Judy Saunders. Be it for Sojourner. Just call her Judy, I'm sorry. Be it further resolved that the town council expresses gratitude to these individuals for their commitment to ensuring the integrity and transparency of the electoral process in the town of Bladensburg. Be it further resolved that the resolution be and is hereby adopted the 10th day of February 2025 and to take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And with that, is there a motion to approve Resolution Number 14-2024? Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any comments or questions regarding the resolution? Seeing none online, hearing none in the room, I'll now call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The resolution is passed. And congratulations to our board members for the Board of Supervisors of Elections, Ms. Saunders, Ms. Lundy, and Ms. Sojourner. And as stated in the council work session, we will come back to the Ethics Commission for the March meeting. We will also invite the candidates to come and speak to the council as well before the appointment process takes place. So moving forward, we are now on item C, which is Resolution 16-2025. This is a resolution of support for the town of Bladensburg's application to the Green Streets, Green Jobs, Green Towns, or G3 grant program. So we'll turn it over to Town Administrator Bailey Hedgepeth.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is a grant, G3 grant, which is a grant that that funds green projects for the town. Actually, I got an email from EcoSite today, just during the meeting, in regards to some possible projects, but we will be working on Green Street projects, probably on either 57th and Joyce or 57th and Edmond and Emerson, which would raise the sidewalks and provide a green, we would provide the opportunity for the, basically, reduce flooding going downhill, which would help the, which by doing the raised sidewalk, it helps to reduce flooding in the whole area. So it's going to be interesting, and EcoSite will help us to submit, and we're asking for the support of the council so that we can submit this grant.
Thank you so much for the overview, Councilmember Bailey Hedgepeth. Town Administrator Bailey Hedgepeth. Are there any questions for the Town Administrator at this time? All right, so Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of support for the Town of Bladensburg application to the Green Street, Green Job, Green Towns G3 grant program. Whereas the Green Streets, Green Jobs, Green Towns G3 grant program is designed to support the planning, design, and implementation of green streets, community greening projects, and urban tree canopy initiatives that enhance livability in cities and communities. And whereas the G3 program also promotes the development of white papers and tools addressing green infrastructure topics to provide resources for sustainability practices, and whereas the Town of Bladensburg is committed to advancing environmental sustainability, improving community livability, and promoting green infrastructure solutions that benefit its residents and the broader region. And whereas the Town of Bladensburg plans to partner with EcoSite Low Impact Design to prepare and submit a competitive application to the G3 grant program for planning, designing, and implementing green infrastructure projects within the town. And whereas the town acknowledges the application deadline of March 10, 2025, and recognizes the importance of securing funding to support these vital environmental initiatives. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of Bladensburg, Maryland, that 1, the Town Council fully supports the submission of an application to the Green Streets, Green Jobs, and Green Towns grant program to advance green infrastructure projects in the community. 2, the town administrator and staff are authorized to work collaboratively with EcoSite and Low Impact Design in developing and submitting the grant application. 3, upon award of grant, the Town of Bladensburg is committed to implementing the proposed projects in accordance with the program's guidelines and requirements, ensuring transparency and accountability throughout the process. Be it further resolved that the Town Council recognize the importance of this opportunity to promote environmental stewardship and enhance the quality of life for its residents. Signed the 10th day of February 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So with that, is there a motion to approve resolution number 16-2025?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Dixon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any comments or questions regarding the resolution? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The resolution has passed. Next, we'll proceed with Resolution 17-2025. Town Administrator, you want to give us a brief summary?
I'm going to use this one. Does that work? So, okay, so this is a grant for, sorry, I was reading his text, sorry that I lost where I was. This is a grant for the TLC Transportation, for the Port Towns, the Transportation Land Use and Connection Program and the Regional Roadway Safety Program through COG. This is an award that this is a grant that we're looking to work with the port towns on, and we are going to be applying for both the $80,000 for technical assistance and $100,000 for the design process for this grant. And I think we're going to look down at, I want to call it strategic streetscape landing, but I can't remember what the term is right now because I'm flustered. So, but it will be for a joint project that will help all four of the port towns with identity and doing basically creating unique and not unique, coherent signage across the towns. And so that's what this will do. It's a study of all four port towns. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that overview. We'll turn it over to the clerk for the reading of the resolution.
A resolution in support of the Portstown application for the FY 2026 Transportation Land Use Connections TLC program and the Regional Roadway Safety Program RRSP. Whereas the Town of Bladensburg, Colmar Manor, Cottage City, Edmiston, collectively known as the Portstown, recognize the importance of coordinated transportation and land use planning to enhance connectivity, safety, and sustainability within the region. And whereas the Transportation Planning Board administered the Transportation Land Use Program and Regional Roadway Safety Program to support planning and design projects that improve transportation infrastructure and promote multimodal accessibility, and whereas eligible projects under these programs may receive up to $80,000 assistance for planning projects and up to $100,000 for design projects, with receipts receiving short-term consult services rather than direct financial assistance. And whereas a unified collaborative application between the Portstown will strengthen regional transportation planning efforts, enhance roadway safety, and foster sustainability development for the benefit of all participating municipalities. And whereas the town of Bladensburg is committed to supporting initiatives that improve local and regional transportation infrastructure, advance pedestrian and bicycle safety, and contribute to more connected and resilient community. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the town council of Bladensburg hereby expresses their full support for the Portstown joint application for FY 2026 Transportation Land Use Connections TLC program and Regional Roadway Safety Program. And be it further resolved that the town of Bladensburg will actively collaborate with its neighboring municipalities to ensure successful application and implementation of the proposed projects. And 1, the town administrator and staff are authorized to work collaboratively with other ports town developing and submitting the grant application. 2, town administrator is authorized to work with Prince George County in our submission since it required by the grant. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the Metropolitan Washington Council of Government and the Transportation Planning Board as part of Portstown's application submission. Signed this 10th day of February 2025.
Thank
Got a
you,
little tired
Madam
at the end,
Clerk.
sorry.
I know.
I almost got it.
The last one. Thank you for that and for your patience. So with that, is there a motion to approve resolution number 17-2025? So moved. Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any comments or questions before the council votes on this? Seeing none online and none in the room, I'll now call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The resolution is approved. Thank you so much for the work on this, and it's great we're working with the county and the port towns. Lovely. Yes, working together. Yes. All right, so that moves us on to item E for the approval of a contract with Bramos HR Consulting for human resources capability. So Town Administrator, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this was a RFP that we put out back in August for a HR consultant. The town does not have a full HR person, and technically the town administrator is the chief administrative officer and people officer. So I'd love some help in regards to this, and the council has recognized this by funding a part-time a consultant position. We are recommending Ramos Consulting. We had 8 really strong applications from local and actually all, pretty much all women-owned and minority firms, which was very interesting. And it was a tough decision. Actually, the reason why, as you can see, it took us from August till now is that we were interviewing these firms several different times to kind of understand what we needed. We had 3 finalists that we looked at. Ramos came out on the top. We believe that their information was the strongest. It's remote service, but they will be in town for the initial setup, and they will come to town at least twice a year. I'd like to thank Ms. Watson for her help in organizing and contacting all of the applicants over the last few months and actually kind of digging into their projections. This contract is a 2-year contract with a 1-year renewal. We did that because what we think is that we do need a full-time HR person eventually, but this will get us through the next 2 years and allow us to make that decision at the end of year 2 on how to transition to a person. So if there are any other questions, the leadership team, Mr. Tonelli, Chief Collington, and Ms. Watson participated in all of these interviews, and were very helpful in regards to making that selection process. So thank you.
Thank you, Town Administrator, and I wanted to give the department heads an opportunity to share if you wanted to add anything additional. I know we did this in the work session, but if there's anything worth repeating for the public. Okay. All right, all on one accord. I love it. So with that, is there a motion to approve the town administrator entering a contract with Ramos HR Consulting for human resources? Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see your hand. My apologies. Go ahead, Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. Just real quick, and this company does have experience with municipalities, right? And then I think it was important too with what Chief said, that he had some questions regarding, around handling the police business, and he was satisfied with that too, right?
Yes, Councilmember Brown, but I will let the chief answer on his, but they do have municipal experience, and they specifically work with several municipalities on the West Coast, and one of their primary partners is actually in Charlotte, and they're trying to build up their East Coast local government, and especially that's most of their specialization is local government HR. So Chief, I'll let you answer the issue regarding confidential files.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, community colleagues. Yeah, so the questions that I had, Ramos satisfied those questions as it relates to confidential files involving internal affairs files, the security of them, meeting the mandated state laws on retention of the files. So they were able to successfully answer those. So I was satisfied with them.
Thank you. Thanks.
And also in our packet is information regarding other client references. So the question was raised just now and also earlier, did they have municipal experience? The answer is yes. They've worked with the city of Pasadena, the city of Selma, California. They've also done work with the Los Angeles County Employees Retirement Association, Long Beach City College, and the city of San Luis in Arizona. So they do have applicable experience. Are there any more comments before we move to vote?
I have one question. That's a concern, Madam Mayor. Michelle, in regards to, I know that they're off-site, right? They're off-site. Just in case they have to come on site, do we have to pay for any of their travel expenses and costs like that since they're contracted with us?
So we arranged special costs for if they did have to come on site, that it would be that to mitigate some of their costs for coming, that we would plan their on-site trips, that's the reason why they're coming initially for free to do their initial setup. But when we do it, they will charge us basic costs for lodging and airfare. And we've set up cost parameters for them for reimbursements. But that's in the contract because we did anticipate that maybe if they did have to come in for something. Actually, most of the HR files can be stored securely, and we'll be working with Dennis on that so that we can have secured HR, being able to send confidential information back and forth. And the first few projects they're actually going to be working on are things like our personnel manual. And they're actually going to be working on, some of the items that can be done remotely because we just have a backlog of work that just needs to be done. So we really don't, what we're really looking at this firm to do is to sort of prep us and get us ready for a full-time person in the next couple of years, to put all of the things in place. But they will be actually coming in and evaluating our files as well. So that's what they'll do. We've been working on our personnel files. So they're actually going to come in, look at our personnel files, give us pointers on what we've got in there and making sure that we have everything correct in them. So that's actually one of their first tasks when they come on site to do that so that we can save the money and we can do some of this stuff more virtually.
Okay, my next question is, I know we have, sorry, Madam Mayor, we're binded into your contract. What if further in the contract, like in a 1-year period, you feel like they're not good enough for the town? How can we get out of that contract? Can you tell me if there is?
So this is our standard contract that was developed by our attorney, and it does have non-performance issues. So if there's a lack of performance, we can use lack of performance issues for them. We're not stuck, but that's the reason why we were very deliberative at looking at these. That's why it's taken us like 5.5 months, because we went back and forth a lot about who could do some of the challenges, and everyone that we actually, most of the, for the kind of pricing that we needed, everybody was offering, even locally, virtual assistance. They were not offering on-site, like, come in here and meet, do any of that kind of stuff. For this kind, we're spending about $35,000 a year. We are not gonna get a full-time or somebody on-site, and that's even the people that were local, they said they'd come in, but it would be once a month or twice a month.
Thank you, Michelle. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
And just to further the point, it is expenses at the rate of up to $1,200 per visit, with any additional travel costs requiring prior approval from the project manager, so they can't go beyond that without reaching out to the town to get permission. And again, it's for 2 to 3 times per year. Any other comments or questions? All right, so I do want to note, it's 8:05. We still have several items to get through tonight. So if anything is not time sensitive, I would ask the council if we could consider just pushing that to the March meeting, because this next meeting has to happen tonight, and I don't want folks here till 10 o'clock. Most of us still have to work, so.
I was going to say, Mayor, some of the reports you can accept as read, because they were submitted as information only. So 4 of the following ones are information only, so that basically you'll have future council agendas. So really, they were submissions just for the council, and I believe the one in regards to the trade school was provided in the other thing. So I think the other ones are just more as read. The only one I'd like to be able to get, if we have the time, is the LEOPS one, because the chief will make a quick comment, and I think that's the only one I'm asking if we can, either mark as read and then have the chief to make a quick presentation, and that's it. And then we could be out.
Okay, so trade school fleet replacement update, we heard in the work session, Boswick House update strategic plan, and then Council of Governments. Would the council be okay holding those over until March? Again, the written reports are in the packet, so before then, you can reach out certainly to staff to get updates, but just for the sake of time, because we're already at 8:06, and then we'd, as was requested, proceed with law enforcement retirement update. Does that work for the council? Yes, no, maybe, okay. So just to formally tie a bow on this, we do need approval for the contract for the HR consultant. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilmember Dixon. Any comments or questions regarding the contract? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. The contract is approved. So at this time, Chief, we'll turn it over to you for a LEOPS update.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Good evening again, Mayor, Council, community, colleagues. Mayor, this came up, the law enforcement officers pension system, known as LEOPS, came up in 2022. We did the council asked us to put a committee together. We put a committee together. Did a presentation before the council. The council later approved to move forward. We did a application in 2023 to move this forward. Since then, we didn't follow through. It saw no further movement. I just want to point out that this is something that for the officers, you're talking about retirement security. This provides officers with stability, a reliable pension to give them some type of financial security when they decide to depart from law enforcement. It also cuts down, it helps with recruitment and retention. It gives a competitive benefits package to attract qualified officers to join the police department. Family protection. If an officer is injured or unfortunately passes away in the line of duty, their family will receive a reasonable retirement pension so that they can readjust their lives. Now, what does this mean for the town? Public safety stability. This pension ensures long-term workforce stability, keeping experienced officers on the force and maintaining effective public safety. It also helps with retaining trained officers that reduces recruitment and training costs associated with high turnover. There are many agencies out here now that have LEOPs. Someone like myself that has been doing this job for 31 years, this takes a toll on officers as opposed to other divisions within the town. We have officers that have to respond to high-risk calls, the adrenaline, the wear and tear of when the gear, the vest, the gun belt, getting in and out of the cars, being out there all types of weathers. This takes a toll on officers' stability, and not to mention the scenes that officers respond to. It takes a toll on the mental. So that's why under the wellness, health and wellness, right now, we have officers going through mental consultations with clinicians. So I do respect and understand what was put out about the budget, but we're just, as a chief, I have to advocate for the officers because I know, I've been there, I've had guns pointed at me. Thank God it jammed. I've been in shootouts where there was loss of life. We respond to the high-risk calls, right? We don't have an option to swerve around danger. We have to go. We can get called 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to go in a dark building. These officers' adrenaline is up, it's going up and down, and we have to go home and readjust with our families. So this takes a toll year after year after year. Officers just can't sustain this job. Life expectancy of a police officer after retirement of 25 years, life expectancy is about 5 years before that officer passes away. Diabetes, health issues, or what have you, heart deterioration. So this is what we're just asking the council to put this, to consider this again. We brought up the speed camera program. We're moving into transitioning with the red light program. When I was first presented with this, the council asked me to go out and find a way, chief, to pay for it. So we did that with the speed camera. Speed camera funds can only be spent on public safety. So we found the means to support the retirement system. So what I'm asking from this council, again, and I'm very reasonable and I do understand, just clarification, are we going to move forward or not? So that officers can have a definitive answer that we're going to do this, so we're not, and then we move on from there. So that's all I'm asking from the council. But again, just understanding that what officers go through day in and day out, they should be entitled to have a nice retirement benefit to go live out the rest of their lives after this. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any comments or questions for Chief Collington? Let me bring up the virtual screen, sorry, so I can see. Councilmember Blunt?
I guess we all know that I support, we did ask Chief to go out and find revenues. He found revenues with the speed cameras. I've talked to council members about how they feel about it, and I'm hoping that through the speed cameras and the money that he has saved the town, that we can still go on with LEOPs. I understand the program and I do support it.
Thank you, Councilmember Blunt. Councilmember McBride, any comments or questions? I just don't want to miss you before I go to the council members in the room.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Brown? Oh, okay, Councilmember Dixon, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, I think this is a great step towards protecting the officers, and I do support it. Thank you.
And Chief, I want to be clear, we did ask for time to get the trends in terms of the revenue. We, as a council, said that we appreciate the efforts that you made to bring the traffic calming devices into the community. But we didn't feel comfortable at the time jumping on this because we needed to see how much are we getting on an annual basis. Of course, when something's new, you're going to get higher revenue, but then once people get used to it, you can't always rely on that. And so I go back to what I said earlier as it relates to the budget. It can be put on the table, but realistically, I need to understand what the PD is willing to give up. We can't give you everything as much as we want to. The officers want brand new cruisers, and if they get past a certain point of years, then we're replacing those vehicles. So whether it's leasing or purchasing, I just need people to understand that there's going to have to be some give and take on both sides. And if it's LEOPS, that's a priority that you're asking the council. Just as we're having the budget conversations, please help us figure out what is it that can be let go or put as a secondary priority if that's going to be the main thing. And at the end of the day, we're committing these funds over 15 to 20 years. I mean, fortunately, we have a mostly younger force, so we've got time. No one's retiring today. So I know there's chatter, and I know they're in your ear bugging you about this, but I'd much rather slow walk this and make the right decision for the town rather than making an emotional decision and then being in a position where not knowing what the next economic recession is going to be, how that's going to impact us. We're already seeing concerns with federal government funding, people concerned about federal jobs, those federal workers that were used to the 50,000 cars going up and down Annapolis Road. If they're not going up and down the road because the new, what is it called, Secretary of Doge or whatever his title is cutting these jobs, we have to be realistic and make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for failure. Because the decision we make today for this town, someone else is going to be sitting in these seats and responsible for implementing. So I'm on board with having a transparent, open conversation to figure out truly the nuts and bolts of how we're going to make this work. So I appreciate you. I know you're getting pressure from the men and women in the uniform because they want this 5 years ago. But I do appreciate the fact that you have been respectful of the council in our position and understanding that we can't just say yes without foresight in terms of the bigger picture and how this impacts the town overall. So there was discussion in the work session to do the study. We're all in agreement to re-up it because it has been a few years, and the actuarial study needs to be more accurate based on the age, date of birth, retirement forecast for today's workforce, not what it was in 2022. And so we do have agreement to go ahead and start that process. But I want to be upfront, and the officers, I know they're watching because they know this is on the agenda. So I hope they're coming to you saying, Chief, if we want this, here's what you maybe could consider backing off of for now, if that's what they want most. I don't think it's fair of them to put all the burden on you. We're a team, and so we need their ideas working together to help us make this happen. So with that, if there are no other comments or questions, were you about to add something, council member? Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying, Madam Mayor. I do agree with what Chief put in on the table. And as you had mentioned that we can go over it and look at it. Agreeing with it doesn't mean that it's right now. So as the mayor said, go back to the police officers and see what we can trade in. And I understand we don't know where we're heading with this 2025, next 4 years. But I think it is important that we take care of our police officers, especially if they're out, their family has protection.
And it is something that's great. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to read it on pages 41 and 42, but it does get into the death benefit for the officers so that if, God forbid, that they do pass away, whether in or outside of the line of duty, the family still gets something. And obviously it will never replace that loved one, but there are some benefits there. But it sounds like we're on the same page. I won't belabor the point so we can move forward. So with that, with staff reports, we're at that point. Does anyone have a burning desire to do their report, or can we forego staff reports for the sake of time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's submitted it's been submitted online.
Okay, Chief, was there anything from yours that you needed to point out to the residents from your monthly report, or are you good for going? Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, Mr. Tonelli, okay. All right, council, we're up next. Any burning desires to give your monthly report? Okay.
No, but I just want to extend my condolences to Ms. Coletta Lundy of the passing of her husband.
Thank you. Okay, and we echo that sentiment to Ms. Lundy if she's watching. Our prayers are definitely with you. And my written report will be added on the website as well. So with that, we have come to the end of tonight's agenda, and now I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Dixon. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilmember, was that Blunt or McBride? I couldn't tell. I think that was McBride. Any comments or questions before we adjourn? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're adjourned.
Good night.